Have you here with us on TRT World. So we often hear that there are too many people on this planet. Would you agree?
Thank you so much for being here. We are in a situation where the demography is evolving in a different way compared to the past. So it is globally continue to increase, but at the same time, we do see a large part of the population, actually 2/3 of the population already living in countries where the fertility rate is actually below 2.1. So you have this situation with countries that are still increasing, countries where the fertility is decreasing. There is a rhetoric that is driven by a number of crises that are happening in the world, including the climate crisis, the pandemics, pressure on natural resources and so on. So there is this rhetoric that we might be too many. But the first thing to take into account here is that if we reach 8 billion, it's actually thanks to a number of important progress that humanity has achieved. So the health system has improved, people live longer lives, and overall the people are in a situation where they receive better services than they used to receive a few decades ago, and so their life is actually increasing, and that's what is contributing to the population.
Okay, so as I understand, you were saying that fertility rates are on the decline globally. In fact, when we look at these stats, it seems to me that there are too few people in some parts of the world, for example, East Asia, Europe. So how serious of a concern is this?
We see in part of the world, and in particular in Eastern Europe, in Western Europe as well, we do see fertility rate that is lower, and we do see population shrinking in some of the countries, and this is driven by aging, by fertility rate going down, and also by out-migration. So it is a complex set of factors that is impacting on population decline in some of the countries. So what is important here is that it creates anxiety, and we do understand that it creates anxiety because, of course, countries do have to adapt their social protection system to be able to respond to an aging population, for example. But it creates more anxiety than what it should. Because what is important is to put human capital, the investment in human capital at the center to be able to respond to this. And it's not so much about numbers. Numbers are, of course, important, but it is more about people, about the human capital that you have in the country, about to what extent it's going to increase, to contribute to the development of a country. So it creates a lot of anxiety, which we understand, and it creates challenges for the government to respond to, but it is actually there are actually a number of measures that can be taken by the countries to invest in human capital and to respond to these different constraints in a constructive way.
Fascinating insights. Now, it's mind-boggling, isn't it? There are some parts in the world that are concerned about too many people. Then you have some parts which are concerned about too few. I wonder if there is an ideal fertility rate that countries should aim for.
So some people will tell you there is the ideal 2.1, which is a theoretical reproduction rate, but it's a very theoretical number because it also doesn't take into account elements like migration. And we do have many countries in this region where the in-migration or out-migration has a big impact. So you don't have an ideal fertility rate. Again, what is important here, because when we talk about fertility rate, we very often talk about women. So what we're seeing that is happening in some countries is that there is a pressure that is put on the woman to have more babies. You know, go back home and have it so that the fertility rate would be higher. So this is counterproductive. And it's counterproductive because the measures that have been adopted by some of the countries in order to do that, they do not work. They do go against the women's rights, and they run the risk of going backwards in a lot of the progress that has been achieved in the equality between men and women, which has yielded very positive results from a human rights perspective, but also from an economic point of view. And so this is the risk that I would say that we see in this moment by focusing the whole rhetoric on increasing fertility rate, while what we actually need to look into is that the demography is influenced by so many different factors, as I said, also by migration, by other kind of policies. So you need to create an environment in a country in which people feel that they have the condition to be able to contribute to their own development, to the development of the society. So that means investing in human capital, investing in young people, investing in education, investing in health, so that on one hand, the woman and the families can make the choice that they want to make in the number of children that they want to have and when they want to have them. And at the same time, you have conditions for young people to stay in the country and not to migrate, which is an issue that many countries are being concerned with the high level of out-migration. So focusing exclusively on fertility rate actually distract from a number of issues that are much more comprehensive and much more broad, and that required a different kind of approach, a complex kind of approach, but that will enable to contribute to the development at an individual level and also at a society level.
Okay, so as I understand, what you were saying is that societies must become demographically resilient. Are there any examples out there? How does it look like?
But that's exactly what, as UNFPA, we work very closely with countries. We are in 150 countries around the world, and we do work with the government and other stakeholders so that the countries have the conditions to be able to predict the demography and to be able to respond to what's going on. If you have a population, with an aging population, you will need more services. If you have out-migration, you will need to invest in young people. You need to invest in the part of the societies that are not yet contributing sufficiently to the development. For example, women, for example, marginalized group that you have very often in societies. So this is the kind of focus that we're working as part of the demographic resilience program. So first, predict, plan and respond with services in place to be able to respond to those changes. Do it in an inclusive manner, because as I said, there are many parts of societies that have not been tapped in and that can contribute and have to contribute to society. And also do it in a way that doesn't generate an unnecessary anxiety, because you don't have an ideal number of population. What is important is to have a population in which a country invests, and that has the competencies, the skills to be able to contribute to the development of the country.
Okay, one last question. So today is World Population Day. As the United Nations Population Fund, what is your message to the international community? Please invest in human capital. And when I say invest in human capital, that's investing in young people. They need to have the conditions so that they're able to contribute to the country, and even if they leave, so that they have the condition to come back. Invest in women. Gender equality has to be at the center. And women need to be in a position where they can make the choices that they want to make about the number of children that they want to have, when they want to have them. And this has shown that when you give them this kind of condition, that's actually where they're able to have more children than what they have. Because you know what's interesting? When you ask women how many children they want, in most of the countries where they operate, they will tell you between 2 and 3, and they actually have less than 2. And why is that? And that's where the response is. We need to invest in women so that they are put in a situation where they can have a career if they want to have it, where they can have children if they want to have it. So that means investing in family policies, for example, in childcare, and in a fair distribution on responsibility at home between women and men. So invest human capital, young people, women, and older population. Fascinating insight. So women empowerment is certainly one solution to solving this challenge that we are facing right now. Florence, thanks very much for joining me here in the studios. I truly appreciate your taking out the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.